Cultural Council's October meeting. It is 4:30 on Tuesday, October 18th. We'd like to welcome the public. We have one member from the public here. I don't know if we have anyone on Zoom, but welcome, Derek. The Cultural Council is part of the Massachusetts Cultural Council, and our primary role is to grant money from the Massachusetts level to our local community. We are part of City Hall, and we are put in our places by the mayor. We are all volunteers in our positions here. And it's a very exciting place to be, so we welcome anybody who would like to be part of the Cultural Council. We'll start with Derek. This evening, our agenda has it further down, but I thought since we have someone from the public here, we'll go ahead and let Derek go first. So the reason Derek is with us today, Derek Cruz, he's one of our city council. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
We had a sculptural project that an interested party who's interested in doing something here in Fitchburg. And Derek reached out to myself, and he reached out to the Alliance, and I know the artist has spoken with other people in the community. So we thought it would be interesting to talk about the project and see if at least the council could provide some support in some way, maybe a letter of recommendation with the project. So Derek, we'll have you speak, and we want to remind everybody that everything here today is being recorded and for future use online, so it's all a very public forum. So we'd like to welcome you, Derek.
Thanks for seeing me. Everything is always being recorded. So I'm here today. Like Tamar said, I had reached out to them regarding a project. A friend of mine reached out to me about his brother. His brother's a Seattle-based, Fitchburg-born sculptor who's had some success in Seattle and has some grant money from Seattle to do another project that he wants to do it here in the city of Fitchburg. It's going to be a life-sized human statue, a carving of a life-sized human figure carved out of a solid piece of oak, and the figure will depict the future effects of artificial intelligence and automation on industrial workers as a whole, and future working conditions and the idea of work in the future as we adapt to new technologies, including a few other things here that he had sent to me. So our big block so far is where is this going to take place, and I was hoping to get the council's pick your brains a little bit and think of someplace in Fitchburg that we could do this. The big issue that I'm finding is the noise. He said it's going to be very loud intermittently, and I said how loud, like a lawnmower, and he said like a chainsaw. So I think he's going to use a chainsaw to build this life-size wood figure out of oak. So we're trying to think of somewhere in the industrial district that this could take place, or if any of the council has any resources or contacts that maybe could help me out. That's kind of why I initially reached out to Jesse at the Alliance and Tamar to kind of maybe pinpoint a willing property owner who will receive this installation or be willing to receive the installation. I think it could be a really good event for Fitchburg, a really cool thing to attract people from the outside, and it's something nice for residents as we continue to grow as the capital of art and culture here in Central Mass. So that's it. That's my spiel.
I think we had, Joe, you had some notes?
Yeah, Derek, thanks for bringing this to the Cultural Council's attention. Coincidentally, I was contacted by the artist as well.
Oh, nice.
I'm not sure the context of how he got to find me, but I'm in obviously a number of different areas in the arts world here in Fitchburg. But anyway, he found me, and I've been corresponding with him, trying to locate a suitable spot. Mm-hmm. I have nothing that I could put out there publicly at the moment because I don't really know for sure. It's a challenging request.
It is challenging,
particularly because he's looking for something downtown, and our industrial spaces downtown are pretty close to residential areas, mm-hmm. and not really conducive to the noise that a chainsaw would make.
Right.
But I'm exploring. I have a couple of contacts that I've come to know over the years that I might be able to connect him with directly.
Okay, terrific.
But yeah, if there's others on the council that have ideas, I'm willing to entertain and do the legwork to try to get them connected.
Does anybody have any comments or questions? Let's see. We have Liz. I'll go Liz first, and then we'll go to Josh after.
I had two questions. One is, I guess I'm not clear. Are you just, and the artist, are you guys just looking for a location to construct this, or are you also looking for a location to install this? And are they different locations or the same?
I think it's my understanding that the artist is pretty flexible with this in this regards. I think the tricky part is where it's going to get built.
Right.
Because of the noise, and he said he'll need he'd like to do between the months of March through May. He'll need somewhere between 700 to 2,000 square feet of space and 120 volt standard outlets. 24-hour access. Yeah.
So we're looking for 2 locations, right?
Well, that's what I'm, trying to understand. So is the artist also looking for a location to install this sculpture at the end when it's constructed?
I think that's the idea, yes, unless, if we found a really suitable place for him to build it, and we could, do that at the same place,
Do you know, are they looking for an inside?
Inside, yes.
It's something that can't be out in the weather. It needs to be inside.
Yeah, right.
I mean for the permanent installation. I guess that's what I'm asking.
I would assume so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think talking to Mary Jo Bohart would be a good choice. She can access LoopNet. Well, anybody can access LoopNet, but there's opportunity to look through industrial space that might be for lease. And certainly, I'm happy to work with you, Joe, too, about looking for a space that might be suitable in the downtown area that might be commercial, may not necessarily be industrial, but commercial space that might be suitable for this use. Mm-hmm. And I have a couple thoughts in mind, but nothing that I would want to say publicly without talking to the property owners.
Correct.
And then we had a comment from Josh.
Liz answered a few of my questions. Are you looking for something in industrial park preferably, or more centered towards downtown?
I don't think he has any sort of, maybe Joe, if you've talked to him a little bit more, but to me he seems very flexible. He's just sort of looking.
So
Fitchburg
my thought was there's a new friend here in Fitchburg named Touch Stuff Recycling, and I know the owner, Mike. They're in the industrial park over by the MBTA, almost near Westminster line. It's an industrial park. They have a very large facility. That's just an idea. Mm-hmm. Other than that, all my other questions, Liz already got them.
And AJ?
Thank you, Derek, for bringing this. Does the gentleman have a rendering of what he's going to do? Is it all just out of general curiosity?
Nothing that he
It might be helpful
me.
to get a property owner's buy-in when they can conceptualize what it is.
Sure. Nothing that he sent me yet, but I can ask him for something.
Sure. And he may not. He may just do it right off the top of his head in the midst of the moment. But do you know what ward he grew up in or was from?
I actually don't. I didn't ask.
Because we could probably try to locate something that was within his home area as well.
That's a great idea. Anybody else? Shara?
Yeah, I'm wondering if we know what kind of budget he has for renting space. I did read on here that he wanted to put line items in his budget proposal, but we don't know how much he has yet, or?
I do not know, so I can find all this out.
Shara, I think he's not looking for grant monies from the council for that.
Right, no, I just meant as far as finding him a place
Just want
to
to make sure
rent.
the context was right.
Yeah.
He's already funded, from what I understand.
Right. He's got a
For a
grant
place to
from
construct.
Seattle to do the work, and it's my understanding that this is his way to give back to the community that he was raised. So I don't think he hasn't mentioned funding once.
I wasn't asking about us funding him. I was
Right.
asking about what, if he needs to rent a space to work in, like what kind of budget he has for that.
Mm-hmm. I can find out.
Okay.
Audrey?
Just out of pure curiosity, can you disclose the name of the artist?
Oh, sure. His name is Sean Gallagher. Do you want to check
I
out?
did send a file.
His
I didn't get that email.
website is on the thing from the email.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Sean Gallagher. It's seangallagher.info/creatures. And I did send around a little note. I can send it again after the meeting's over as well. Any other comments for Derek or suggestions? I think I had already given him suggestions. I know we love the redevelopment authority, and they have space as well, so I'm sure Megan would be a good contact.
I reached out to her as she suggested maybe one of the old schools, either Notre Dame or the old St. Anthony School for the gym or the auditorium. And then she also was thinking maybe Sawyer Passway would be something to look into. So I'm going to look into both of those.
Very interesting ideas. Well, I think the council would be happy to support Sean if he comes here, or if we can offer a letter of recommendation. Certainly, this is an interesting project, and I would like to see it come here. It would be great if we could help him. So if he'd like to reach out to us again, if there's anything we can do, let us know.
Okay, that sounds good.
Any other comments for Mr. Cruz?
Just a quick comment.
Yes.
I will follow up with you via email and connect with Mary Jo.
Sure, that'd be great.
Too, and
Yeah.
then we can talk specifically about some spaces that might be options.
That'd be great.
Thank you very much, Derek, for
Really
coming.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Derek.
And thanks, Sean Gallagher, as well. Our next, we'll go back to the top of the agenda, which was our new membership. We want to welcome 2 members who are with us today. I think they've both been sworn in. We have, first on my right is AJ Turigny, who's one of our new members. And we have Joshua Klaus as well, who's with us now. And so if anyone would like to introduce somebody else for the council, certainly we're constantly looking. As everybody in the public knows, we rotate in and out every 3 years. So some of us have recently rotated out, and then a couple of us have been renewed recently, and we certainly would like new members so that in the next wave of people leaving, we'll have some new members. So if anybody in the public would like to join us, certainly reach out to us, and we can tell you all about all the requirements for being part of the council. And if anybody knows anyone and wants one of us to do the talking, certainly let me or Audrey know. We've both done that a number of times, and Joe has coached us on that. So Joe's in the community, and everyone can always reach out to Mr. Rowan to speak to him about new membership as well. So with that, I would like to make a nomination. We need a secretary, and I want to thank Matthew Brun. I never say his name correctly.
Bruin. You got it. Cool.
Matt, thank you so much for taking minutes today for us. He's remote from Fitchburg State at his desk watching and taking minutes because we need minutes. So thank you very much, Matt. And so I'd like to make a nomination to have Mr. Turgney be our next secretary, because we do need a secretary to take minutes at every single event. And I'd like to open that up. Would you accept such a position on the council?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So if anybody would make a motion, I would love to entertain
So
that.
moved.
So we have a
Second.
Oh, it's very quick. So we have a motion from Eileen to have Mr. Trigney be our secretary, and a second from Liz. Anyone speaking to the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
AJ.
you.
And thank you, Matt,
Thanks, AJ.
for passing the baton. Certainly you're in good hands if you have any questions. We would really appreciate
I'll come knocking on his door if I need
He'll
some help.
support you. So don't worry about today. He's got us covered for today. The next thing we're going to move on to is the treasurer's report, and we're going to turn our attention to Liz for this, and she's given us a document. I hope everybody has a copy.
Does anybody need a copy? Okay. This is the September 2022 Treasurer's Report, and I've left, I started using this as just kind of a running tally, as long as it doesn't get too big. I've left transactions all the way back to May in here, but as we move along, I'll probably shorten it so that it doesn't become a longer document. But our local funds, currently we have a combined balance, including the scholarship fund, of $3,473.21. This does not include the funds that have come in electronically. I am still in the process. I did not realize, because this is kind of a new system for the city, that we had to follow up and with the treasurer's office to ask for that money to be moved into an account. So I am putting together all of the individual transactions so that I can capture all of those donations that have been made for the Spring Bazaar and for Fitchburg Open Studio, so that we can get that into our local account. So that's not presently reflected in the local account funds.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So the checks are going out for the scholarship fund this week. Thank you to Joan David. There's a second amount in that scholarship line, which was 1,000, should be 1,000. So there's 2 checks going out, and I just want to mention their names. Trevor Taylor and Gabriella Houle are the 2 students who received those. So I just want to double check that we have 1,000 on that line item.
I haven't seen a $1,000 check come in.
It would be
a $500 check come in. That is 630.
Thank you,
So
Vicki.
so I will make that adjustment. So 2,973 should really be 2,473, and then the scholarship fund should be 1,000.
Thank you.
The total remains the same. It's just we're moving money from one to the other. Okay.
Thank you very much.
The FY21 grant account is zeroed out, and the funds that were left there are rolled over into the FY22 account. The auditor did this in August. The current account that has the remaining balance of our fund in it has $23,512. $2,300 of that is admin. We do have a grant balance of grants to be paid out still for the 2022 year of $19,881. So when you take out admin, that means that we have $1,331.32 that we can reprogram into the next year's grant allocation. And if you look down at the bottom, that just reflects our $2,300 in admin that we have yet to use.
Thank you very much, Liz.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have any questions for Liz on the treasurer's report? Well, thank you so much for all your hard work. It's amazing. So if there's no questions for Liz, we're going to move on to the grant coordinator's report. And Eileen, did you have anything that we need to know?
Nothing particularly. I'm trying to close out 2021, which means getting everybody's final report. There's 2 that are missing, and it's Jennifer Jones. She sometimes sends them to you, Tamar. Do you have her things?
No,
Okay. Well,
but I can get them.
okay, good. I think there were 2 different grants for publications that I think at least go before my time there, but I've not received a completion. With her final reports on those, I can close out 2021. 22, I got that list from you, Liz, of grantees who have not actually gotten their money or applied for their money. So I wrote each of them today, and I'm starting to get some in. At least one is not going to apply for money, but I'll wait till some of them can. I'll make you a list of who's not coming through, so you know how much money's left over from that.
Perfect.
Okay. So basically, that's all that's going on. I'm just chasing people.
Thank you very much. And then I saw with the Cultural Council email that the Johnny Appleseed Trail Association, they sent in their files for their event that they just had. So that's just come in. And then we'd like to invite Shara to the podium at the front. Shara has a request. She's got something to present in conjunction with the grant that she has.
Thank you, Tamar. So the grant I had was for the fiscal year 2022. It's number 5431. I've made a printout for each of you. The request is to shift the project plan and the event date. The project was to paint a mural on the surface of the basketball court at Low Park, and it was delayed by the city and the B.F. Brown Affordable Artists Housing Project, which they finally got their last bit of funding, and they're breaking ground. And the feeling was that if we invested the time and energy into creating the art and having all of the community involved in that project, and then within a year or 2, they tore it up to renovate, that everybody would feel disenfranchised. So they kind of put me off on that. But what I would like to do is I feel like that community still needs something to feel good and to feel like they're not just being ignored. And I wanted to do a chalk art festival. I've been involved in several other chalk art festivals, and I understand about how they can work. And being a temporary thing, I don't need to go through permits or permission from the Parks Department. It would be a one-day event, and the goal would be to get all the families and local groups and businesses and everyone together, as well as bringing in some professional chalk artists from the local region to do, more high-end art. And that would be competitive, and there would be awards. There would, the professional artists would get a small stipend, like $100. It's all listed in my budget. I really want to encourage local families to get involved, and it won't cost anything for anybody to participate other than signing up ahead of time. But I also want to get sponsors from local businesses and maybe some restaurants that will offer some, like, food coupons or vouchers that could be some of the prizes. I also have talked with Beth Robbins at the Boys and Girls Club. We're going to try and get them involved as well. And I think it would be a really great event, but obviously it can't happen in the winter, so it wouldn't happen in the 2022 fiscal year. It would need to be pushed out to 2023. So my goal is as early as we can, either late April or early May. I'm looking at either April 29th or May 18th, which are both Saturdays, as potential dates. So
the request is an extension.
Right.
But also a change.
Slight
change of medium.
shift. Does anyone on the council have questions for Shara? Audrey's first.
Sure.
Where do you plan to have the chalk festival? Will it be at
It's going to be at the same location. It's going to be on the basketball court at Low
Okay.
Park.
Great.
And Joe?
I think my question was answered. I was wondering where these chalk drawings would be taking place.
Right, so it's basically still the Low Park Pride project, but instead of a permanent mural on the basketball court, it's going to be temporary chalk art. I also got in writing from the city that I would be involved with the renovation, with whatever arts project they do during the renovation. They're probably going to build a new basketball court, and they will probably have me do a mural then. So
Right.
that's a whole other thing.
And just a follow-up question, in here you mentioned something about squares. What is it?
So I would
put a
mark
grid out on
out-
that, on the basketball court?
Yeah, we'd mark out with chalk on the basketball court, and we'd have maybe 5-foot square panels for the professional artists and smaller ones for the families, and maybe smaller ones for the kids, for the younger kids.
About how many different squares do you envision having on the court?
I should have.
Just out of
given you-
curiosity.
I can give you the map that I put out, but I think it was
An
like
estimate.
10 professional artists and then 20 other like groups, including kids
Yeah,
and
that
stuff.
seems like
So,
a decent number.
yeah.
It's definitely not too small.
No,
like it.
I mapped out the space to leave enough space for people to get around their artwork and not bump into each other, but
Yep.
also to have as many as we could fit.
Thank you.
And Audrey?
I just want to make a comment that last year, Art Week was the last weekend of April and through May. So this year, I'm assuming it would probably April 29th through May 7th. So something to think about for confirming that date, since you said April 29th as one of the options. And I feel that the original application, the heart of it was a mural at Low Park, and I don't think that this is too different of a request, since I guess the difference is that it's a temporary public art, and the idea was always to involve the community in putting the mural together.
Right, that's exactly it.
Thank you, Audrey. And Eileen?
Just asking if the budget is the same then for both events, or how are we going to handle that?
I included a budget, which it actually is more than the amount of the grant, but I'm looking at other sources for funding, and
Okay.
that I have also some grant money from New View for like an activation grant, and that will cover most of it. And I have several people already who are looking to sponsor. I have Chart Pack Art Supply Company. I've talked with them about donating some of the chalk and pastels for doing the chalk art. And I'm going to talk to a lot of other people about that as well. So,
Sounds good.
yeah.
Okay, so sounds like everyone is in favor, generally speaking. So maybe we
Do I
can
need
take
to
a...
step out or do?
Yeah,
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
So,
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead, Josh.
So since this is being moved, I guess the application process is closed, but I'm not sure why that wouldn't have qualified for new funding from FY23.
Well, I considered actually whether or not I could apply for more funding in this next cycle, but I wasn't sure if that was appropriate since this is funding that hasn't been utilized yet. If anybody
Josh,
has...
the money could go back into the coffers if she wanted to give it back, or she can apply for an extension and we can make a change.
I did actually offer, like several months ago, to refund the money, and Eileen, the treasurer, suggested, no, we really would like you to utilize it, so that's why I put it together this way, but there was no way to do it in the year time frame.
We
Would it be
discussed,
possible to...
Excuse me. We have Joe's hand up, just I'm going to go to Joe next.
I'm sorry, I thought I wasn't
It's okay.
finished with my...
Joshua did have the floor.
Did he?
Yeah.
We'll go back to
yeah.
you, Josh.
Well, I wasn't finished, so I apologize. Would it be worth entertaining a motion to with the agreement that you would refund the money and table this for a different amount to cover her for this entire project?
Audrey?
So the FY23 grant season application deadline just ended at 11:59
Technically, it
p.m.
doesn't end until
yesterday.
tomorrow. They extended it, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have till
didn't
tomorrow
hear
night
that.
at midnight. Joe?
So some time ago, the Mass Cultural Council gave the local cultural councils flexibility to defer projects, adjust projects as needed because of pandemic circumstances and other difficulties. And we have, as a practice, been doing that for several grantees for the past 2 years. I see this request more along the same lines of that because this is your second or third request to do this from that original grant. I mean, it's still the
This
mural
was
project.
from it
This
was
is-
fiscal 2022, but yes, they've shifted it a few times and it's been beyond my
your
control.
project has been deferred through circumstances outside of your control.
Right.
And so I see a merit to putting the funds back, for sure. It complicates things for someone like Shara, who wasn't on the council when she was awarded this grant, and there's a fair amount of conflict of interest paperwork and bureaucracy that we would need to go through just to have her apply. And I don't think we could get through all of that before the deadline of tomorrow. So just from that perspective alone, I would recommend that the council consider accepting the modification. She's going to use all the grant monies that we've applied, and she's intending on spending more. Personally, from the work I've done with Shara in the past, I know that if she says she's going to get a project done, she will find the funding, and it will be completed. So I have faith that Shara will pull this off, and she'll use our funds appropriately. So, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for your confidence.
So I'd like to add to Joe's comments. I agree. I just feel that there's still a small window of opportunity to get her the remaining balance in possibly a new grant. Can you add the two monies together?
can I say something?
I had a look from AJ, just a second. AJ, did you have?
I think it's important to understand that we need to treat this like an RFP process. We don't know what the applications are for FY23, and we would need to treat it as a new application as such with all the other applications and what the funding's left behind, and forget about, I don't think you can connect the two from one fiscal year to the next. I could be wrong, but I would assume we would need to treat it as a fully new application and then put it up against all the other applications and what the funding is, and
Can I say something here? That's a separate thing, but what I'm asking right now is for this funding that I've already been awarded and accepted contractually, that it be approved to shift it to this project that won't be happening until April of 2023 or May.
And Eileen.
I like the idea that you found all these other organizations that will shore up your project. I like it when we have a very limited amount that we can give to art, but I like it when the artists say, okay, I can take your amount and I can get this and this, and it becomes a community-wide project. So I like that you did that.
Thank you.
And I like that we've been fair to so many people. Like, COVID has been really difficult, and we've extended so many applications and let so many people have money after the fact, change the project, move it to next year. We're waiting on things to happen. I think it's fair that we do the same thing to Shara.
I totally appreciate the flexibility. If there aren't any more questions, I will leave the room so you guys can vote.
Thank you. Thank you. Give her a moment. So I'm going to need a motion from someone.
I'd like to motion that we accept Char's change in plans.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table from Eileen to accept Shara's extension and a slight shift from mural to chalk art and chalk festival, and a second from AJ. Anyone speaking to the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. How do we get Shara to come back in? We've had so many extensions, it's been really interesting. So on that note, for everybody in the public who's watching, listening, the Massachusetts Cultural Council, because of technical difficulties, extended the deadline to the 19th at midnight. So everybody has today, all day, tonight, tomorrow, all day to get their grants in. So if you haven't yet applied, it's still a good time to apply. So if you know anybody in the community that had an idea, has some details, and get it in, they still have time.
Then I must have it.
Do we have anything else for the grant coordinator's report? Any other requests? I don't think we do.
Okay.
Okay. So Winter Bazaar is next. I kind of wanted to turn this over to Liz. We just completed a poster flyer. I know Liz has a form quasi ready for the public.
Yes. So, well, for the vendors, for the artists that would sign up.
Right.
So the Winter Bazaar will be December 3rd, which is a Saturday from 11 to 4. It will be at City Hall. Similar to last year, we will have a City Hall full of artists who are selling their craft, their products. And right now, we are focused on getting those artists signed up to attend and sell at the event. So we just created the form, which will be an application form, and it's been tested. We have the save the date poster now, so we can start doing social media posts. And we've made the fee, the vendor fee, pretty low this year. It's $10 for a small space, $15 for a larger space. We primarily will be inside, but if there are a couple of folks that want to be outside in the front area, I think we could accommodate that. I wouldn't suggest it, though, because who knows what the weather will be like that day. So we're keeping those vendor fees low because folks do need to get their hawkers and peddlers license either through the state or through the city, and there's a small cost to that. $25 if you're going to do it for the city, and that allows you to vend as a hawker or peddler for a year, or I think it's $62 if you do it at the state level, which allows you to go anywhere in the state and do that. So I would say that is a good deal for folks that might sell their products in different communities throughout the state at craft fairs if they're not already licensed.
So where does the public go to get that license?
So there are actual links in our application that will direct you to the right place. So in City Hall, it's a city clerk's office, and there's a form on the webpage that folks will fill out and then bring to City Hall. And then the link for the state one will take you to the state's page where you can get the application and submit it. So I would suggest, though, there's a little bit of a process to that. People should do that early.
And what help do you need from all of us? Because this is sort of was on Liz's shoulders.
Yes.
It's a lot of work.
I appreciate that. So I would certainly be looking for any help with setting up and just the day of kind of managing the vendors and making sure that the crowds and the vendors are in good shape on the day of. We'll have a table for the Cultural Council with whatever information we have available then. And then it would be helpful to have folks share the social media posts and just, share the event page. So we'll create an event page, too, on Facebook and share that. If folks have other thoughts about ways to get the word out, love to hear that, too, especially if you're willing to take it on.
And go ahead, Josh.
Here's a thought, Liz. TikTok and Snapchat. Teenagers.
Don't.
I have it.
TikTok.
I've been pushing. I've been pushing the council's things since before the meeting on Snapchat, and it actually works out for my son's friends.
So they're well informed.
They are.
Thank you.
It's
Snapchat.
December, so it's Saturday, December 3rd from 11 to 4 is the Winter Bazaar. So Liz, what time would you like us to get there, those of us that can offer to help?
So if you're helping with setup, we'll probably do some of the setup Friday
Friday
evening. I'm going to talk to the mayor's office about whether or not they're comfortable with the idea of some folks setting up Friday, because giving people that option to be able to set up on Friday and then just come in on Saturday morning is nice. It does make for a long Friday night, but it's okay. So if folks are just coming in for the event to help with staffing the event, I think one or two people coming in a little early to help vendors set up or help direct vendors to where to set up, which would maybe be between 9 and 10, and then, maybe just a few minutes before 11, 10:30 or something like that for folks that are helping the day of.
I want to say I think our team did a good job last year.
We did
That's
an
all I'm
amazing
saying.
job
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
I remember one, I don't know if we really want to do this, but I do remember somebody saying, we should have T-shirts.
Oh, staff.
So that's a thought if we wanted to have Cultural Council T-shirts.
And
It's a good excuse to have them.
It would be.
that is
yeah.
fun. So I saw a couple hands. We'll go to Audrey first. I saw you, and then we'll go to Joe second.
I'm not volunteering to do this, but when we had the public relations subcommittee, Eileen wrote a lot of press releases for us, as well as Matt, but Matt's not on our council anymore. So that might be good. Could also do interview at the radio station, making an Eventbrite, and what else? Reaching out to our local newsletters like the Fitchburg Cultural Alliance and the Rally by Sally Cragen. I feel like I was going to list
Also
another
TV.
thing, but I don't remember. Oh, TV, of course. Discussing Fitchburg Now, Barbara and you. I believe Derek Cruz has a show.
Inside Fitchburg.
Inside Fitchburg, that's right. Yeah,
Very cool.
I had the pleasure of being on it.
Thank you for the great ideas.
And Joe?
Liz, add me to your list. I am oddly free Friday night and Saturday. So pick and choose
Awesome.
how you would like to use me.
Thank you, Joe.
Preferably not the entire Friday night and Saturday all day.
I understand.
But please find a good slot for me and I'll work around it, okay?
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. So I think we have, go ahead, Audrey. One more thing.
I saw the registration form early. So you said that we're not going to promote larger space, but I saw that on there. Initially, it was going to be for $20. Are we keeping that, or we? Because I think it should be lower.
The outdoor larger
Yeah.
space, I made the correction that you had suggested.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great. So I'm sure we'll have some sub-meetings to work on this project, and I'm definitely available as well to help.
Thank you.
You are welcome. So just on the topic of,
I just
Shara?
want to say
Shara?
I'm available as well to help again, so.
Thank you, Shara.
And then just on the topic of events, I think we did an amazing job on Open Studios, everybody. Thanks for everybody for their help. And Audrey running around, I think it was you, all the photographs.
All
Holy
that I
cow.
could. Yeah.
It's very impressive. And so for anybody in the public who participated as an artist or a vendor or a location, we're having a wrap-up meetings this Saturday, 12:30 at the Boulder Gallery. Mr. Capadagli said it was the best year ever for Open Studios, and so he wanted to get everyone's feedback so that for the next year we make adjustments as we always need to make it better. So that's this Saturday, 12:30 at the Boulder Art Gallery on Main Street for anyone that was a vendor, participant, or an artist. Any comments on that? It was wonderful. Audrey?
Slightly separate, but on the topic of events, we also had the creative meet and greet, which Eileen and Liz organized. And from the time that I was able to attend, it looked fantastic. I don't know if you guys wanted to comment on anything about it.
I had a blast. We had a folding party. We
Yes.
folded. And I want to say it worked. We had people come the next day who were at the brewery that night and said that they got a brochure while they were hanging out drinking. And
Awesome. Good.
so we thank that brewery for having us also. Anything else?
Christy Robot.
Thirsty Robot, thank you. Get their name in there.
Thank you, Thirsty Robot.
All right, so the next thing is our grant schedule. I guess, I don't know if you guys had received this slight schedule. It was like just throwing some ideas out there. I'd like to ask Matt and AJ, if possible, if Fitchburg State University would again help us with our books. So that's a request
Printing
into
them.
the school. And then I thought, provided we get the books in time, and of course this can all be like a little loose until we have our books, I thought we could start with the schedule the third Tuesday of November, and then we can go from there. So maybe our first, if everyone is open to that, the first grant meeting to review the grants would be the third, our normal meeting, the third Tuesday in November, which is November 15th, I believe.
Okay.
And then we can set a more final schedule that night, provided, everybody's open, has an open schedule, or we can go with a couple dates for tonight. So I wondered if everyone could maybe,
What
take
time?
some comments.
What time, November 15th?
I was hoping we could keep the usual 4:30,
Okay.
and we'll just, Audrey?
I'm guessing that it would extend to, instead of ending at 5:30, would it end at 6:30?
That's what we did, yeah, last year.
Awesome.
We'll just keep it like a 2-hour window.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are new, we normally would do 3 meetings, and then we'll make a 4th if we need it. And we do about a 2-hour window, and we go over the books. And we've often used Fitchburg State somewhere on campus so that we have a table, so we can be a little more versus this format. So maybe Matt and AJ, if you have a place available for us, we could start maybe here, or we could start at the campus, whatever everyone feels is easier. It makes the
Or maybe the
conversation a
Idea
little
Lab?
easier.
Maybe the Idea Lab?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yep.
Audrey?
That's a good idea.
It's a nice idea.
I think it's really important that we do make sure that FATV can record our meetings, just for open meeting. I mean, it's not technically a requirement, but I think it's really helpful. And also it can be a learning process for applicants to get an idea of what we're looking for in the future as well.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, Eileen?
I would feel uncomfortable going over these grants and everything being on television because you end up having to say something, and I'd rather have it done in private.
It's always public. The public's always allowed to come, so it's
If
not
they
entirely
come, that's
private.
one thing, but on TV,
Joe, I saw your hand first.
No, I was just going to support what you just said, Tamar, is that we are a public institution and everything we do, all our deliberations should be televised if it's available. But it's not required. I do agree with that. But if we can, I say we absolutely should share everything that we discuss with the public.
And the one good thing for the public to know is if you apply for a grant and you see the schedule of the night that we're going to be holding the grant review, you're welcome to attend. so that you can be there if we have questions. That happened a couple times last year, and it's always really good if the person who's applying can be there for us, and then if we have questions, we don't have to email and ask. You're right there to answer them. I think I saw Audrey next, and then I saw Josh.
No, I was just supporting what you guys are saying. We have to be really careful. We definitely shouldn't describe our meetings of ever being private, because we are a municipal open meeting law committee.
And Josh?
I actually agree with Eileen on this, and I think there's a possibility, since this is a public body, that we could motion for an executive session to review the intricate details of these, considering it's the beginning of a contract between ourselves and the individuals.
Well, this is why the meetings are so long, because we do take our time, and we deliberate.
That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is, to comply with the open meeting law, we would be privileged to executive session to entertain what Eileen is suggesting.
Joe?
Joshua has a point. I think that it might be worth posing that question to the city clerk's office and our Mass Cultural Council rep, just to be certain that we're doing the right thing, if that is the way we would like to go.
Okay, AJ?
Have we, the granting process and such, have they always been in public meetings? Have we ever had a problem prior to, or is there any? Okay.
No, always public. Audrey?
Yeah. Our meetings are always posted. However, it wasn't until the pandemic that FATV started working with us to tape our sessions and made them available for public viewing at the comfort of their home. Obviously, because, for a while we weren't able to meet in person. So this is recording our meetings with videotape is definitely a new thing.
I think it's worthwhile to get an opinion from the city clerk's office. Secondly, I would look to our neighbors and even speak to the Mass Cultural themselves in regards to this. Just because something's been done in the past doesn't necessarily mean it was correct. So I do see possible sensitive numbers being discussed, and it would be fair to have some privacy with the individual people. So I hear what everyone's saying. Just want to see, I understand, Eileen, what you're saying.
Yeah, we've had it all different. COVID changed everything.
Yeah.
It really did. So I remember when some of us first joined.
It didn't change the Mass General laws.
No, of course not. But it changed the fact that we were all being recorded.
Sure.
When some of us first started, we were at the Fitchburg State, and we were in a conference room, and we weren't recorded. So that's definitely changed with COVID.
I'm sorry. I apologize. How is that relevant to having the privacy to review the applications?
So, Josh, this is always a public meeting. So since I've been on the council, we've never had a private meeting to review. So
executive session is not really private. It's still in accordance with how the meetings are done. It just gives some immediate privacy. Being familiar myself with open meeting laws and serving on boards, I see this as, we're talking money to people and sensitive. I'm not sure. I mean, this is my first time seeing how everyone's going to come together, but I'm assuming there's going to be a room full of people looking at ready to answer questions for their stuff.
yeah, I don't see that it's necessary for us to be private. I mean, these grants are for the public good in the end. Everything everyone's doing is public. But I'm certainly happy to talk to the city clerk. Let me go to Shara.
What I wanted to say is just that we, as board members, will each have a book, and we can look at all of the grant proposals in between the meetings, and then when we're together, like if you have questions or things that you have concern about, if there's something that seems really, like nothing should be out of public discussion, because anybody who is applying for grant funding, they have to justify what they're spending their money on, and we can ask them questions and they can answer. So it's, it doesn't necessarily need to be recorded, but it certainly needs to be open to anyone who wants to attend. And I'm guessing that the majority of people don't attend anyway. So
Not usually.
yeah, so it's almost a moot thing.
Audrey and then Liz.
I think it is worth finding out. I've never attended an executive session before, and I know that there is a section in open meeting law about doing that, especially when you're voting on sensitive subjects that, it might not be great to disclose such elements of how you're voting in such a public sphere, but the vote definitely would have to be in public. So I think it's worth checking out, but Shara makes a really good point of especially if they are the applicant, to be able to speak upon the matter before a decision has been made, which technically, if there was, if we did an executive session, we would have a separate public meeting in which they could speak up, but they wouldn't know that there was necessarily a reason to.
And Liz?
So I would also support us trying to understand the parameters of executive session. My understanding is it's a public meeting, you have the public part, you go into executive session for this particular, whatever that particular issue is that warrants an executive session, and then you'd come out of that and go back into the public meeting. Whether that means that you physically move or not is not really relevant, but then we can decide, once we understand what the parameters of executive session are, we can decide at a future meeting if we're going to use that as a tool, if we need to use that or want to use that.
That's an excellent point. I just want to clarify things, Liz, it's not the whole thing has to be an executive session, but if there's a point that's brought up or something, I guess we would need to see what the parameters are to say, well, let's move to go into executive session. We'll be back in 5 minutes type of thing.
Which is why being at Fitchburg State actually has been nice. It's a little different than being here where we're very open to the public. So that's always what I felt. It felt a little more comfortable there than being here at the City Hall, but we appreciate City Hall having us. So with that, I'm certain we can speak to the city clerk, and if there's a grant that we think we need to discuss in that way, we can do that after we speak to them. So I'd like to move that we start on the 15th, provided we have our books. So this will be like a to-be-determined situation. And then if you guys want to look at those, I gave you a couple of dates, the 21st, the 28th. This is all before Thanksgiving, or if we feel that that's too close, we can always move it into December. So I'm kind of leave it up to you guys, but maybe we could just start the 15th and then maybe that night determine the other dates so the public knows too. Does that work for everybody? So that means our next grant meeting, our first grant meeting would be our next meeting, which is the 15th, provided we have our books. All right, so we have minutes to approve and review from last month's meeting. Thank you, Matt, for taking the minutes, which you guys should have. Thank you for printing them out, Liz. So it's the meeting minutes from Tuesday, September 20th. Maybe we can take a motion, or if anybody has any adjustments, I'd like to take a motion just to get them filed so we can file them in our books.
So moved.
So a motion from Eileen to approve the minutes that are from Tuesday, September 20th.
I'll second.
We have a second from Josh. Anyone speaking to the motion? Josh?
Eileen, I believe it was moved to another meeting about bylaws. Is that this meeting?
It's not on tonight's agenda, no.
Okay, good.
So we pushed it off again. Anyone else speaking to the motion? Liz?
Just a question. So Josh wasn't at this meeting. I'm not sure he was officially a member. Does that matter with the motion in the second? Okay.
Josh is officially a member today.
Yes.
He wasn't a member at the last meeting.
Right. I just wasn't sure if
was a
you had
guest.
to be a member.
I'm just looking for grammar. It looks good.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries, so we'll put these in the files. Thank you so much, Matt, and we'll look forward to AJ's minutes next month. It'll be fun. So with that, I'd like to take a motion to adjourn. It's 5:24 p.m.
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion from AJ to
Was it
adjourn.
seconded?
A second from Shar. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.